Hi there, everyone. Welcome to episode 867 of the Mike from Maine show, the place where we do daily interviews with successful online entrepreneurs. This is your host, Mike Thomas, and today on the show, we have Chris Hitman on, and we're going to be talking about something that's actually really important for your WordPress websites, and that's getting hacked. I don't know if you've ever been hacked before, but I have, and I actually go through and tell the story of how I lost, I think it was up to like 30 websites that I lost, and I lost Mike from Maine in the process. I lost a ton of content, and if you think that you're too small to be hacked, trust me, at that time, I didn't have any followers or any subscribers, and they even came after me. So we're going to talk about how to protect yourself from that, and anyone who ends up picking this up through my link is going to get a really cool bonus as well. Let's get into it. Here's Chris. We are here today with Chris Hitman. Chris, welcome back to the show.
Hello, Mike. How you doing? All right?
I'm a little intimidated here, Chris, with that boxing, that bag in the background there, that punching bag.
That's decoration.
That's just to get your frustration out there. Chris is here on the show today to talk about one thing that I think a lot of us don't necessarily think about a lot. And we don't think about it until it actually happens to us. And that's getting your site hacked, security for your different websites. Before I even read off the sales page headline, I want to start this off with a little bit of a story about myself. That happened to me a few years ago. When I originally started the Mike from Maine show, or actually it was MikeFromMaine.com before it ever was the show. Anyways, I started doing some income reports. I had some blogs about my travels around the world, photos, like really great posts that I would love to read now, like personal stuff. And one day I woke up and not only was that site hacked, but that site was hacked, and all I think it had like 20 to 30 AdSense websites at the time that were all making me money, and they were all gone. Some weird message was on my site. I was trying to reach out to my host. They had told me that they had backups of my site. That, oh, don't worry, we do backups. No backups were available, and they told me that I had to delete all my sites because there was malicious code in them. They didn't want them on their servers. And I was screwed. So this, if you don't think that this is going to happen to you, if you think, oh, this happens to only big sites, this is something like, oh, your site's just a little site, it doesn't get much traffic, no one cares about it, there's nothing further from the truth there. Let me read out the headline for this. It says here, watch us hack a live WordPress site with top security plugins running. Why exploits are the biggest threat to your site security today? I'm scared just looking at your headline. Bring us in, Chris.
Well, it's quite funny. This product started life about just over a year ago. And essentially what we noticed is that none of the major security plugins had anything that battled vulnerabilities and exploits. Now, they're covering you for X, Y, and Z, login problems and all sorts of other issues, but they weren't never really covering anyone for vulnerabilities and exploits, which is a big surprise to us. Mike comes from, or the other Mike, my partner, comes from the automation industry on commercial automation, and I come from the sort of like a PC security side. So for us to go and see that majority of people running WordPress sites had absolutely no cover for exploits and vulnerabilities was quite shocking. So we created a product to cover that, and there's a big reason for this, and that's between 92 and 95% of all attacks are via vulnerabilities and via the hackers use exploits to take advantage of the vulnerabilities in the code. And when you think about it, WordPress really is relatively dirty. It's open source platform, so WordPress itself can become poisoned, if you like, with a vulnerability. Then we have theme writers, which write a load of themes. Majority of them basically come from college or university, and they just write. And we got a whole host of plugin writers, and it's so difficult, even if you're really, really experienced. And we've got friends in this industry who are really, really experienced developers. You can just have one oversight one day, and that's it. That's your vulnerability. Someone picks that up. That's an exploit. And all it takes is that exploit basically to turf a site and turn it upside down. And it doesn't matter what you are running. it doesn't matter how strong your security is, basically, if you have a vulnerable plugin on your site, if I know about it, and just bear in mind that WordPress broadcasts this information openly, that's something else we fixed in one of our upgrades, then all a hacker needs to do is just execute that exploit. What we've shown on the sales video is, Mike showed this, is the execution of an exploit. What actually happens basically if an exploit is pulled through? There will be actually two different hack videos basically on the sales page, and it shows you the one we did in 2015. It also shows you the one we did in literally about a month ago, to show you that not much has changed. And the reality is, how are you ever going to know if any of the plugins on your site, and I mean, I got 20, 30 plugins running on some of my sites. Yeah, I don't know how many you got, but that's I mean, some people got like 70 plugin. Yeah, a lot. Plugin for this, plugin for that. You don't know if any of those plugins basically have got a vulnerability in them. You'll never know. So we wanted to create a system by which basically you get not only notified but protected against all the common hack attacks. So that's how WP Site Guardian came about. And by the way, here's an interesting fact for you. I did a comparison of the number of exploits reported. It's just reported, by the way, right? Reported, we know, is like hell of a lot smaller than what it actually is. Yeah. This is last year, to what the reported number of exploits are today, and the biggest basically source of exploits there is right now. I took a snapshot last year and I took a snapshot this year, and what is shocking is that the number of exploits has increased by 33% in 1 year.
So it's getting worse.
Well, not just worse, a lot worse. It's you're talking about in like just a short period of time, like 2 years, we're doubling the number of vulnerabilities and doubling the number of exploits.
Let me just interject here for a sec. You were talking about like all these different plugins and stuff that we're buying. Like a lot of these things where there's a lot of great software that comes out. There's a lot of crappy software that comes out too. But hopefully the ones that our customers are buying and that we're promoting to them, they're the good ones. But even if a developer is like trying to put out a really great piece of software that does a lot of great stuff, they're not doing this on purpose. They're not trying to make it so that it has these exploits and holes in them. It's just because they're focusing on making a good software, and they're like, okay, well, it's like WordPress is locked down anyways, and these people should be running a security plugin to fix it. So they're thinking, okay, they're protected, but it's not their main priority with that. So it's really something that a lot of people aren't thinking about. Plus, sometimes you might not even know that you've been hacked because maybe a hacker, like some hackers just go in there and they'll hack your site and they'll put some crazy message on it and say you've been hacked, and they have fun with it. Other hackers might go in there and start adding some links back to their websites, or they're doing something for SEO, and they found some random page of your site that you never even look at, and they've just added a ton of backlinks, and maybe to some gambling or some porno sites or something. You don't even know that it's happening. Now Google's going to see that. Google's going to see these crappy links. They're going to go, okay, who's this person linking to? This person must be a bad neighborhood as well, and they're going to penalize you for something that you haven't even done. And you're going to be like, why am I losing my rankings? Obviously because you are linking to porn and gambling. Absolutely.
So it's not just that. You gotta understand the concept of hacking. It's not done by a single hacker typing at the keyboard anymore. It's done by bots. These bots are programmed to hack sites which they see with these vulnerabilities, and all they do is they troll the internet, basically trying to find sites like this. And it's not just the fact basically that you'll get disranked by Google. You've got to understand basically that sites can now actually inject malware. And if you've seen maybe messages basically when you've gone to a site in Google saying this site is dangerous, gives you a nice big red screen, or same with if you use Firefox browser, you get warnings directly basically as you go through your search engine and then to the browser that this site is not safe. And the reality is basically these sites can actually inject poison into your PCs, or actually compromise your PC too, because they're actually running a script which deploys on your PC, especially if the PC is unsecured. So there is a whole hell of a lot of payload. As you say, basically porn is one, phishing sites is another, especially when they're trying to get your PayPal details or your bank details.
And when we talk phishing, we're not talking bass phishing here.
No, we're talking phishing for information. We're talking basically, this is actually especially bad for the elderly because people don't really understand how the whole thing works. So, you get spoof emails and you go to a genuine site and you take a look at it. It all looks genuine, but behind the scenes, basically, there's a bit of dirty code that sinks into your PC and starts doing stuff. And it convinces you to go and press a button. You press the button, basically, all of a sudden, basically, you've given away basically every bit of control to your PC, and now the hacker is actually logging everything basically that you're doing on your PC, and all you've done is browse the site. So most people don't understand why site security is so important. You're not just infecting yourself; you're infecting others too. As a result, not that you'll be so worried basically about infecting others. You're worried about your own problem, but the reality is basically the payloads now are so bad, and that and the environment's so dirty. I mean, compared to when I started 4 or 5 years ago, we had some attempts, and hackers did the usual fun stuff, especially if our sites were had default administrator logins and usernames, and that was the kind of done thing. Nowadays, they're being a lot more clever with it, and we can't even call them hackers. Because really a hacker has got some kind of criteria where he's qualified. What we talk about now is what they call script kiddies, which are... Script
kiddies, I've never heard that term before.
Yeah, script kiddies. Script kiddies, basically, hackers basically will dismiss basically a script kiddie as being a hacker. A script kiddie is someone who's got no qualification whatsoever, who's learned to download a piece of code from an exploit site and then inject it directly into a site, basically manually, if you like. Just an exploit would be an example of that. An exploit is not something that a qualified hacker or a seasoned hacker would necessarily do. A seasoned hacker would find out all the attack points in your site, basically, and break it. And a really seasoned one will try to brute force everything and take your site down. You are unlikely to be attacked by a seasoned hacker direct. You're more likely, like 99.9999% more likely, to be attacked by a bot trying to execute an exploit which they've scanned and found on your found a vulnerability on your site. So that's how it works.
So a lot of people are using other plugins to do this. You've got some listed on your sales page. A popular one is WordFence. And I don't want to say anything bad about these softwares, but I would ask you what yours does that these don't. Yours is all about, if I understand correctly, really finding those exploits and or blocking against these exploits. So that's what these other ones don't do. You obviously know the tech part of it a lot better than I do.
Sure, of course. Now, ours is what they call a WAF firewall, which is a web application firewall. Other plugins that you see are general security plugins. Whilst one, WordFence, basically to their credit, has at least added a WAF firewall element to their product. Here is what you don't know about all of those, including WordFence themselves. In the last 28 months alone, there has been 32 vulnerabilities within the top 5 WordPress security products. Now, we said basically that just one vulnerability is enough for me to take control of your site. What hackers really look for, or what script kiddies look for, is something that can attack in volume. And what's most volume used are things like, if people are running security plugins, of course that's a real big volume use plugin. Cache plugins, for example. And again, those have been hacked several dozen times, but even the top ones, all of them. So all I'm saying essentially is that the security plugins that are out there at the moment specialize in general security, and because they're so broad in that, they're jack of all trades, not master of none. Now, between 92 and 95% of attacks come via vulnerabilities and exploits. Our point is, you got to be really, really clean, and you've got to keep yourself exploit free. You've got to keep yourself basically vulnerability free to be able to do that job successfully. If you yourself are portraying yourself as a security company, you can't credibly say to anyone that you're strong if you yourself have been harboring vulnerabilities. Now, WordPress, I think, harbored a dozen vulnerabilities in the last 28 months. Okay, that's the reality. You can look this up in the vulnerability database. I'm sure I can give you a link.
And they're always updating it because they're always finding these things wrong.
Yeah, but they're always updating the product. They're always adding stuff to the product. And by doing that, basically, they run a big risk of creating another vulnerability. If you keep changing it, that's the thing that's going to happen. And with security, you've got to keep changing it. Now, we specialize purely with this product on the WAF firewall defense, which is basically your key defense against vulnerabilities and exploits. We've done this successfully for over a year. We've had 0 reported vulnerabilities, so wow. We're doing it right. But again, we take a lot of time basically with our code before we put it to market, and we know how difficult it is basically to stay vulnerability free, and so that's the reason we're essentially are ahead of the pack. We just focus on that specific area, the area that's going to turn over your site, it's going to give you the biggest risk to your site. And the other thing we're different, by the way, on is the payload on your site, which means when you install our product, like a lot of security products, and you try basically all the ones that you mentioned, WordPress and Bulletproof. If you try any of those, because they're doing so much, the payload on speed of your site is quite big. Okay.
So they slow your site down.
Yeah. They will. They have to. And if you use like P3 Profiler plugin to go and see how much it slows down, you will be surprised basically what that is. So we wanted to create a security product which covers the big bases and actually give you in a funnel you get different products that do different elements of the security, but still are very, very thin in terms of the payload on your site performance. It's important for our sites to run fast. They rank higher. We get more traffic. We get more money. Why wouldn't we want to do that? So it's one of the key areas basically which we wanted to solve.
Let's take a look inside. I know you wanted to show us a demo of the software and maybe some examples of people trying to hack into your site.
Sure. So this has been running on, this is a WP Site Guardian, which is the front-end product. That's been running on my site for a year now. And this is just data, by the way. This is the status window that you get basically the minute you log in to the settings area. And as you can see, in the last 2 weeks, I've had 1,719 attacks. This is not a joke site I set up. This is my main site that does that routes all my products basically, and it's my hub site. Mm-hmm. It's my primary site for my business. So this has now been attacked 1,719 times. All right.
So you're really getting attacked here. I mean, you can see it. Like there's attacks every single day.
Yes, these are attacks. You can actually get a little bit more information in the logs, so you can actually see what this kind of stuff is. Remember, XSS or cross-site scripting are pretty lethal ones. Those are the ones that try to turn your site over. I'm trying to find you some interesting ones basically on here. Okay, someone's trying to do cross-site scripting forgery on my login area just here.
So they're trying to log. They're just trying to log in. Is that what they're trying to do?
No, they're trying to use a cross-site scripting forgery. It's different to login. They're trying to spoof the system, get around the login. Use a forgery. It's a method that hackers use basically to try and overturn and get in. It's a bit more powerful than a standard brute force attempt. Another hack attempt here basically is, if you can see basically my wp config php.back file. This is actually a backup file of your PHP. They're trying to get hold of the backup file. To see whether I'll rewind back a little bit. Your wp-config.php file contains a lot of critical data about your site, such as your username, such as your login information, and your password, and all sorts of stuff like that. If they can get access to that file, they can actually get into my site. All right. So you can see basically they are trying to.
They're smart.
They're trying to look around for local files. I don't know if there's anything else here on this page, but yeah, so there's just two attacks on this page. You can see basically that's that are pretty nasty, and those are just ones in the last 2 weeks alone. I can go through 69 pages of this if you want, but I think you're going to get bored, and so will your audience. But that's the reality. This is my site, and I've not made it up. This is real time information coming through. But with the other thing, basically, the plugin does, it looks through all your plugins and to see if any of them are harboring exploits, right, or vulnerabilities right now. So, for example, I've got one plugin down here which is installed in my system that's found to be vulnerable using our database. By the way, we don't use our database. We go to external sources, which are big sources. We link through and we check to see what's live, what's reported. And this is a plugin that I will be notified about, and this is a plugin that I should be taking care of really anyway. Although the plugin itself is protecting me against all the attack vectors, it's telling me also that this plugin really has a hole in it. If that makes any sense, yeah.
If you find a hole in it, then you just you would report it to the plugin creators, or
no, you don't need to, because that's already been reported. At this point, just you got to remember that vulnerabilities reported are the ones that we scan for.
Okay.
We don't know about vulnerabilities unreported. So there's a massive database basically out there of all the vulnerabilities reported by other product creators, other vendors, and they report that to the main registry. What we get is that live information coming back telling us basically which version of that particular plugin harbors a vulnerability, and this actually harbors an XSS vulnerability, which as you've seen, well, I think you've seen some of my demo videos basically on hacking. Those are XSS exploits that we're using. They're the ones basically which will turn over your site, will give me as a script kiddie access to your site and allow me to take full control of your site. All right, so you can see basically how important that is, and this kind of scan is not like the free plugins that you get basically within WordPress repository. We're paying for the service to get this kind of data. We aim to protect people basically with the best information we can, and the best information we can is paid for. So that's what we do. Yeah.
I noticed that you also have WordFence on there as well.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think WordFence does some tremendous little bits basically on general security, and that's been running on my site symbiotically with our product.
So it works together. You can have that on at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's a lot of cool thing WordFence does. We kind of attacked it a little bit when we first launched the product, but we attacked an awful lot of other things. We weren't specifically picking on WordFence. I think it's got some great things like country blocking, and you've got blocked IP stuff. You've got your live traffic, and the firewalls is actually the thing that they've added shortly after we created our product, which is quite amusing. But nonetheless, we do some clever tricks which they haven't even started on getting involved in. And I'll show you those, by the way, in settings. And this is a clever part in... Okay, if I go to advanced, I'll show you just the first two ticks on here. Enable vulnerable scanning and live blacklists. This is something basically which is exclusive to us, by the way. And this is in the pro version. So we do a daily live check on your site to make sure basically your site is healthy by singing back to mothership and essentially checking for what's bad at the moment and what's actually exists on your site. This is something that you could never do basically manually, if that makes any sense, unless you had like 10,000 years to play with. So this thing essentially auto-reports any bad things on your site directly to you via email. And the second thing it does, it sings to or it reaches out to a massive live blacklist of scrapers, hackers, rogues that have been identified by the security industry as known culprits. And it interfaces that list directly into your site. It plumbs that list in. So if any of those turn up on your site on a daily basis, by the way, it does this, yeah? All right, it updates that list daily. They get kicked out at the door even before they reach your site. They're done. They're out. So cool. if they've been identified by the industry as being, as I call them, shits, they are essentially auto blocked directly. This is
So
what
they
we
don't
do.
even get a chance. They've already been already been
They're done.
flagged. So they sees them, they're gone.
Yeah. So this is something basically which is exclusive to us. You know, we felt that, you know, why aren't we doing this universally? One of the things that we did basically when we first, you know, sat down and put the product on the chalkboard. I said to Mike, I said, we should be referencing a big bloody list of people basically and taking the biggest shits basically out there and implementing that kind of security directly through the HT access file of our local WordPress security site, which is exactly what we built. And this thing updates it daily. So you can see basically what we've done on there, which is pretty powerful, right?
Chris, for the people that aren't super technical, I can see a
Yes.
lot of people like you're obviously passionate about this. You understand it. You have a tech background.
Sure.
When
Sure.
a lot of people, they're going to be like, okay, I just want to be protected.
Right.
When they get this, I mean, they're not going to be going through all the different settings.
No.
Like
no.
when they configure it, do they just like install it, and then how hard is it to get it running?
Okay. It's literally 2 clicks. Okay. And all you'll ever need to do is go to Site Guardian settings, put your license key in, and enable the product. Now, depending how you're running your site, there's different enable modes. So if you're running your site under Cloudflare, you will select this mode. But most of us, like 90% of us, will actually just select enabled and then save changes. And that's it. Okay. If you want to put a custom block message and a custom banned message, these are 2 different messages. So if the software detects an activity which looks suspicious, all right, there'll be a custom block message. All right. If the software detects an activity which outright is a hack, yeah, there'll be a custom there'll be a ban message. You can have your own amusing versions of that, but the default ones are created for you. Okay, and that's it. Enabled. That's job done for all of us. And same goes in the Pro. Really, it's auto enabled for you as standard. You don't need to worry about these things unless basically we tell you otherwise. You know, through our support where you have specialist needs. So there's a lot of other options basically on here, like exceptions and all sorts. But for the likes of you and I, you literally just put your user key in and press save changes. It can't be any simpler than that, I don't think.
So okay, so everything that you showed us so far, that's the front end offer. Is the advanced, is that part of the Pro, or is that in the?
That's the Pro. You
Okay.
get that in the upgrade, but the standard is literally just enable it, job done, and you're going to end up with your plugin vulnerabilities, your whitelisted IPs, blocked IPs. You can actually whitelist and block IPs if you want to. Your hack log, all tutorials that go with it as well. It's incredibly simple to use. I mean, it's only a question of enabling it for the likes of 99% of sites.
I see on the sales page, and correct me if I'm wrong here, there's 3 different options. There's a single site, a 100 site, and a 10 site. Is that how it's going to work on this one as well?
It is, yeah.
Okay, so you've got, depending upon how many sites you have now, is that for personal use?
That is for personal use, obviously sites you own. In the upgrade, you get full developer rights. So in the Pro version, you can use it on your clients. The nice thing about the upgrade as well, so as well as the extra toys, is you get the full developer bundle, as I said, which essentially allows you to sell it as a service, if you like.
So you could go out there, find people that have WordPress sites, which are tons. You could offer this as a service to install this on their site and protect them. And the cool thing about it is you can show them pretty much immediately that there's hack attempts happening on their sites.
Yes. Well, we actually created a product in the funnel called Security Auditor because we understand that people don't really understand security, and I've actually only just installed it on this site for demonstration purposes. So you can see the auditor does nothing; it just install it and scans your site for what we call general security holes. You've got to understand basically that Site Guardian is a web application firewall. But there are an awful lot of other things that you could be doing to your site, or you should be doing to your site, as what we call good practice. Most people don't really understand what that is, and there's about 10,000 different sites with different ideas what good practice is. What we've found good practice is what we call the middle ground, the balance between security and your functionality. Because just bear in mind, if you crank up your security too high, your functionality goes down and you start breaking your site. Yeah. And that's not really good practice, and that's not really good for you or the user or the visitor or everything else. Yeah, it's just more of a challenge to the hacker. So the auditor is, I think, the next upgrade to the Pro.
So you could use the auditor if you pick up the next upgrade, the auditor. You could go and I mean, I could see going out there and install that on someone's website for free and say, I'm going to do an audit for you. It's 100% free. I just want to take a look and show you that your site has some problems in it. Give them the audit, and then you could then go and upsell them to install the plugin on their site as a service.
Exactly.
Cool.
Exactly.
Love it.
That's exactly what we built it for. It's not just for you; it's for your customers too, and it's the perfect weapon to use because no one minds an audit, especially if they're getting a free audit. Yeah. And I'd offer the service for free because we're giving you an unlimited site license and developers' rights to the security auditor. By the way, yeah. So you can use it as many sites as you like and just go and pick up. And then upsell them basically on the web application firewall and do all the work. Majority of the work in here, by the way, is little quick fixes, little buttons that you just press, which will just fix stuff. There are other things basically which we recommend, which will give you links for, and also there'll be videos basically in there as well, so you can see basically how stuff is done. So I've just pressed fix it now on one of the files. You can see that's been done. I'll press fix again. Fix again, basically on another one. So really, it's not exactly rocket science.
I'm glad it's not rocket science. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'd be stuck with it. Okay, so that's the third OTO. That's the second OTO, WP Security Audit. I think you've got a third one.
Yes, we do have one final key to the security thing. Actually, no, we got two. We've got Shields Up, which is a product which I haven't actually got installed on here at the moment. I've got it on another site. And what Shields Up does is it's one of the things that's a key and critical about WordPress is that it broadcasts every piece of information about what you're running on your site. Version numbers, the lot. And there is only one other plugin basically on the market which does this as a paid plugin, and we found that itself was actually vulnerable. So we created
that plugin was vulnerable.
Oh yeah, very much so.
I bet Michael found that. Michael's always finding vulnerabilities.
Yeah. That's precisely it. So it's I mean, Shields Up essentially it's it's kind of invisible because I can't really show you. It just goes through your site. And it looks for all the broadcasting information that you're broadcasting about your themes, your plugins, your WordPress versions, your PHP versions, all the things that give hackers basically like an open ticket, an open book saying how to hack me. Yeah. And that product essentially starts hiding every part of that. And again, we've done that in such a way that it doesn't break your site because it's a dangerous thing that we're doing over there. We're doing about as much root work as we can without it being dangerous. So it's a very, very clever plugin that puts your site into what we call stealth mode. And all right, there is one final thing that we do basically in the funnel, and that's what we call Traffic Shield. This is a product by Jane Williams. Now Jane is a seasoned hacker. Now some of you, some of the people, your audience would have heard of Cloudflare as a platform for security. There's been products in the market for it too. It's an extremely good product. Now we found a way of configuring your sites and the Cloudflare much quicker and much easier using a small piece of software which just runs from your PC. And that's only a question of a matter of a couple of clicks, and you can actually batch put your sites under Cloudflare, all configured with all the right settings. That's the thing that most people don't get. Is what settings do I use under Cloudflare itself? Because it's actually quite in depth if you actually go into it. Yeah. So this really is like the whole arsenal of security, taking you through like the biggest attack vectors, which is handled by Site Guardian. The Pro version gives you what we call proactive defense. Where we actually already do things proactively to your site to stop attackers basically running through. Then we got the auditor, which covers the general security, which most people haven't got a clue about, and it's like a ball ache, and they don't know how much to do or what actually happens. So we try to make this really quick and fast and easy for people. And of course we got the shields up, which is the stealth security, which stops that broadcasting of information. And we couldn't do it all in one plugin, even if we tried. It had to be separate because it's different things basically it handles. And the final thing, of course, basically is what we call DDoS protection, which is most people don't really understand what DDoS is. What is it? And really, hackers can take down your site externally by blasting your site with a volume of requests, and they just take it down anyway. So what Cloudflare does, it kind of disperses those attacks really, really cleverly, and it does it for free to a degree. If that makes any sense, yeah. So if you're a big company like Sony, they're not going to do it for free.
Yeah,
but if you're like a small to medium size outfit, they're not going to care about dispersing your DDoS attacks for you up to a level, unless you're really pissed off some hackers.
Well, I'm going to say this. As far as for me, I'm not a tech person. I don't care how it works in the back end. I just want my sites to be safe. I just want to not have to go through what I went through again. If I lost my whole site again, especially if you don't have, which a lot of people don't have their sites backed up, they rely on their servers who will tell you that your sites are backed up. But I'm telling you, a lot of times they'll tell you that, but then they don't care once you've been hacked and you're done. Like you've lost your site. So it's better to be safe than to be sorry. And I don't want to go through that again. I want to protect my website. Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing this with us. I know we talked about this before. We didn't want to come out and be like, oh, it's the doomsday. Everyone's going to get hacked. And they need to buy the plugin to protect themselves. But, I mean, the fact is that there are real vulnerabilities out there. There's 30% increase in hacking since last year. It's just going to keep on getting worse, especially since humans don't have to do it now. It's actually done by these bots and what was it, kitties? What would you call it? Script kitties. Script kitties. I just picture all these like little cats, little kittens running around like trying to hack into my site.
It's a derogatory term used by hackers, basically for people who think they're hackers and they're really not. So it's kind of how it works, I guess. Yeah.
Anything that we missed, Chris? Anything that you wanted to mention before we wrap it up?
Just one final thing. I'm actually working on this right now as a part of the bundle for WP Site Guardian. I'm actually writing what I call a general security protocol for 2017. We did that last year for people, and they got a rough idea basically of how they should be securing their sites and what they should be using. Can they run, for example, as you just noticed, can they run WordFence together with it? Yes, they can. And what we actually physically recommend for their purposes, and it starts with critical stuff like hosting. Mm-hmm. I think most people haven't got a damn idea basically that it doesn't matter all these plugins that I'm selling you here, or your audience could be buying. If the hosting is really bad, we failed already, if that makes any sense. Yeah. So we give people an idea basically how to select the hosting and what order to deploy stuff in. There's also other things that we talk about, which is things like comment security, spam, which is general belt and braces stuff, which we recommend basically as security. And again, this is the kind of thing that you're not going to get if you download a free plugin. A free plugin you just assume basically is going to operate and work on your site, and the reality is, as I said to you, and as we're sharing on videos clearly, the idea that a single solitary plugin is going to go and protect you against being hacked is a myth. So what we've created essentially is the only plugin right now which has got 0 vulnerabilities. We're proud of that record. It is damn difficult to go and do that. We're going to try damn hard to go and maintain that record, and certainly not have as dirty a record as some of the top 5 have had for harboring vulnerabilities. So we're doing our best for our clients.
Again, thank you so much for coming on, and best of luck with your launch.
Thank you very much.
I hope you enjoyed the interview today with Chris. If you are interested in picking up WP Site Guardian at its lowest price, you're going to want to come back at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on Sunday, December 18th. You're going to be able to grab it at its lowest price along with our special bonuses, and we're going to have a really cool one for you this time. We're going to be giving out beta access to our new review site plugin. So make sure you check out my review video tomorrow so you can see all the details on that. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.